I just start out here? I don't know. You guys want a statement?
We'll just go with questions here for Coach
Yeah.
Leipold.
Hey, thanks everybody for coming out. What do we have, Daniel? 11 in? 12?
Practice 11.
Practice 11. So, we're getting there. We're kind of getting in those dog days of camp a little bit, but guys are still working hard, sorting a lot of things out, and but really, really happy with where their attitude and effort levels have been. But I guess I'll let you guys ask what you really want to know, and we'll take it from there. You can't? Oh, got to get my coach voice on. What do I need to do, Daniel? You can hear, but you want me up there too? Should I just move this? You want this here though, huh? They need it? Okay. If I get too loud, if I shout too much, let me know then too. Sorry. Yeah. Yes. The work ethic for our guys have been very impressive. Their willingness to accept the change in the formats, how we're going about it. I've been pleased that it's some of that of our practice style, I guess, is a little bit different than what they've been used to, in the pace and then really the amount of time on the field. And though I think we move at a pretty good pace, they've embraced the whole day of camp, and we haven't had issues of being what we're supposed to be, doing what we're supposed to do. And if I look back at the last time I started a job, I had a lot more of those issues early, and we're working through, and it says a lot about them. It says a lot about what Matt Gildersleeve did this summer in the strength and conditioning program and understanding. These young men want to be successful, and they're willing to adapt to a new style, and so that's probably been my most thing I'm pleased with right now. Again, the timeliness of this and what we're going to play against is the thing that's going to always be the continuum of what we're going to need to be consistently a winning competitive football team each and every week, and that's a process that we're going through internally, but also we'll have to continue that through the fall.
How about for you personally? I know you've been traveling around the state, going to some things. That's probably a much bigger time commitment that you had at a place like Buffalo. Have you enjoyed that part of it?
Yeah, I really have. Our chancellor is an outstanding man, a great supportive of athletics and what we're trying to get done here. His medical background, I should see if he could clone me or something. Maybe I could try to be in more places at the same time. But yeah, it's a balance. And again, everything through COVID to coaching changes. We're working under some unique things that kind of pull me in some different directions. But I think you go back to our staff, some of those that have been with me for a long time, some of those in off-field roles, especially Rob Iannello, who has come in a general manager role, that's able to give me the confidence that if I do step away, that the expectations and structure are going to maintain itself and what we need to do. And as I'm out there, again, the loyal fan base, the true fan base of wanting to see a winning football team, and they've been extremely patient through some tough times, and it just kind of resonates to me, my responsibility and obligation to this university and to its fans to build a winning football program. Well, it's a good question. I think a couple things to that is this team did have spring football. Okay, so there were some skill development and there's some things there. Now, not systematically, so I can't, but the best way to answer it is I can't worry about things I can't control. and we can't either. So if I'm going to sit there and worry about it each and every week that I didn't get these 15 practices, all we're doing is not looking ahead of what we can control, and we're trying to find the ways to do that and maximize the time within respecting of our guys of what they can handle, and trying to keep everyone healthy and not overload them, and mentally or physically, that we're going to find a way to get better.
You guys had your first scrimmage the other night. What you learn from that? Maybe
You guys usually tell me when we have those, so I mean, yes, we did.
what you learn from that setting that maybe you didn't know about some of your guys?
Yeah, it was great to see us some guys in some positions that really competed overall. I watch a lot of the other things around the program during the day, like how we practice, how we transition, who's on the sideline, who's paying attention, where it's at, where you're supposed to be, and I was really pleased with that part. Again, go back to other times starting over in the first year or two. That type of discipline and locking in and do it, that's a tribute to our assistant coaches of talking about what we expect and them implementing that. Like a lot of things right now, we just have to be more consistent and doing things in every phase of the game. There's flashes. And for us in now before kickoff, we've got to make sure we keep refining that and see who can consistently do it. And those will be the ones that'll see the most playing time. Yeah, I think our culture's been all, from the summer, it's been very important. I think culture is a word that, is really used a lot. I think it's, people talk about process a few years back. Process and culture are very, in vogue, terms these days. But culture is how you go about it each and every day, what's expected of you, how you go about your business. And, another time to talk about, like all of us, if you're going to be a professional in whatever your occupation is or whatever your task is right now, how do you go about it each and every day? And culture is just how we practice, how we prepare, how you come into the building, how you take care of your body, your nutrition, and all those things. And right, wrong, or indifferent, we're doing a lot more and asking them to be a lot more detailed in that than they ever have been before. And we're going through that in stages, but all in all, very, very much pleased about where it's at. Just like everything you'll find with me, I'll never be completely pleased and always striving to be better. But at the same time, I tell our staff and players that we are not going to compromise our expectations of this program.
Coach, as fans get to know you and your program, would you offer a sentence or a thought about coordinators and the type of football that they want to put on the field, what fans might get to know about them?
Disciplined, physical, fundamentally sound, offense and defensive football teams. There's not a lot of, Andy and Brian and myself were small level coaches that came up doing you had to wear a lot of hats and do a lot of things to get your team ready to go. We took the laundry down, we lined fields, we did whatever, we helped load buses, we bussed 15 hours to games and everything that it took to find a way to play the game. And just because we're in a bigger stadium doesn't change who we are, and that's the thing I love about those guys. And not only that, they're extremely loyal. And they'll be loyal to this program and fan base.
Lance, what are your expectations for Devin Neal?
What an outstanding young man Devin Neal is. He works hard every day, he takes coaching. There's times now we talk about it, not going to back down on him either, but freshmen hit a wall at certain times, but man, he's taking a lot of reps and he's not tapping out. And some days there's some really good flashes of what his future is going to be, and then there's times there's a little bit of hesitancy in that, but he's learning and he's a sponge, and that's the thing I love about him. He takes coaching, he's not defensive. He doesn't have when something's not there, he doesn't have 15 reasons why he did what he did. He takes it and he goes over and finds another way to get better.
Reasonable to expect to see him on game one?
Yeah, right now is, again, where we're at in health and all those things. But, I see Devin Neal playing a lot of football in some capacity this season.
You guys seem to have a lot of depth at running back position. I'm sure that's probably something
Yeah, there's some decent depth there. We got to keep them all healthy, got to keep them all there. And I've always found is that when you think you really have enough, something happens that you're thin at the position. Again, as we've talked about culture and systems and those things, it's how we're going to practice and get guys a lot of reps, and also create the competition that doesn't allow one to kind of go through the motions. You better show up on Tuesdays and Wednesdays in this program locked in and ready to go. Otherwise, one of those other guys are going to get some more of those reps. Yeah, Ron's had a really good offseason in the weight room. Ron came off surgery right after last season. Still working through some of that at time from time with some soreness. He's learning the system a little bit. Quan Drake is, there's a little bit different in some of the teaching and the techniques done. And, I think he's slowly making progress, but, he's in a competitive battle to get himself in the rotation. And like I said, any of those young men that came from Buffalo or somewhere else into this program from anywhere is understanding that nothing was promised to them and competing. But, Ron's test numbers and athleticism shows that, he has the makeup to be someone that can help us. I'm sorry, say that again?
Are you excited for the opportunity to prove that you're a coach that can be successful at the Power 5 level?
This isn't about me. It's about getting this program where it needs to be. I guess I think each and every day, each and every week, we try to prove ourselves on what we're doing. That's a competitive nature in each and one of us. So, I guess we wouldn't have taken this opportunity if we weren't think that we were able to get the job done and show we could do it in the Big 12 conference. And we're excited just to get ready to play. And I guess everyone else will make the decisions from there.
You guys all went through last year with the COVID protocols and everything, and there was no vaccine available. It's different. This year, how's everything been right now? You're a few weeks away from the first game. Are you feeling confident about your program and just in general college football coming off without too many major games as we go?
Depends how much news I watch. There's days you kind of hold your breath, what you see and read and how we change, how we go. But I think, again, last year really put us to the test of many ways, not just in coaching, but how to be adaptive and find ways to get our jobs done. And I think we'll find, again, a way to do so. I think there's the vaccine, obviously, as we know, but also we know that there's not going to be postponements of games, though there'll probably be forfeiture of games, it appears. So we've got to find a way to put ourselves in position to play. But I think it still doesn't change that, we want to play, but the safety and the health of everyone involved is still always going to be at the forefront. And back to like the other answer I had is we're going to control what we can to the best of our abilities and let the others above us tell us what to do.
Has your program been receptive to the protocols and everything? I know that every one of them's different. You got kids all over the country with lots of different things. Has it been satisfactory?
Yes, I would say very much so. Very some, again, we walk a fine line in a lot of areas that every young man and their families and not just young men, it's everyone involved in our organization has the right to have their own opinions and to make decisions on their own. And so, we're trying to balance all those things as well as educate everyone and then also talk about what may happen in certain circumstances as that plays out. But, watching what I can, the little bit of research we've kind of have, dove into a little bit. I'm very pleased where we're at as far as where our players are at and their safety moving forward. I figured you were going there, John. I knew somebody was gonna get there, and I had a feeling you'd be. Yeah, I think some of it just kind of naturally flows, and I know where some of the next questions may go, but I'm Yeah, it's coming, but not as fast as all of you may like or want it to be. And we talked earlier about not having spring, and I think I've said this before. There are some things that can be to our advantage, and some of those we better use to our advantage as we go into the first game as well. And so announcing some starters in some spots, maybe up to game time. The other thing again is continually working on the competitive culture of the practice also gives us a chance. And sometimes I think I've found in the past when you start doing that, even when you have an experienced team and a team you've worked with for a while, some of those younger players who have never had to take a developmental role, all of a sudden they lose a little focus and intensity in their own development and think that may happen again in the spring or later on. And we want to make sure, as young as we are, and we're going to need everyone available, the longer we keep that going, the more locked in and the more development and competition for everyone's sake we will have. He's a very talented guy, and I think Earl's a guy that everyone has talked that way about him for a long time, and he knows it almost to the point where, it's exhausting to him at times. But he's gone through a lot of coaches. He's one of those guys that it's okay. I got another line coach, type of thing. But been receptive. He's big. He's athletic. He's got light feet. All those things. And I think he's a guy that could be pretty special when he really puts it all together each and every day.
I've had some time now to get to know these guys, know them as players, know them as people, that kind of thing. What's been your read on their mental state, especially the veterans that's been here 3-4 years? Sense of any PTSD, something of kind of how things have gone for them in their careers?
Yeah, I think there's, again, trying to work towards the future, but yet recognizing the past as a balance for all of us. I think we really have to look at that and, not just as individuals, but as a team and units is building that confidence. And that there's some of that, and there's times that we work through it in different situations, is handling adversity and what happens, so we don't let it snowball on us. And that's going to be a big point of emphasis for us, of responding to adversity. It never, every college football game goes that way. Momentum swings back and forth. It's how you're going to handle it. And we have to build a mentality that we're going to be a four-quarter football team. We're going to get games into the fourth quarter. We'll find ways to win them. And that's a day-by-day process with our guys as well.
I also wanted to ask you, talked a lot about culture here.
Yeah.
Prior to today, how closely tied are culture and identity of a specific team? What do you want this team's identity to be tied to your culture of the team?
I think those are words that kind of get meshed sometimes. Your culture about going about it can be one way, but your identity can still be a little different. I think there's probably teams around the country that have similar cultures, but their style of play can be vastly different. But ours is, to me, as you guys have gotten to know me, it's not overly flashy. Just do what's right and do it to the best of your ability and things like that. I'm not saying that nobody ever asked that before, but when you really break it down, that's the most simplistic things that we can do. And it's the same thing you'd ask them to do once they leave the program in life, is make great decisions and work hard and, be honest and give everybody your best. And if we can do that, but, we talk about it, with diet and weight room and classroom and all those, and holistically trying to put that together with young men and see where it's going is something that we're going to continue to work on. Well, he really impressed me over the summer. Just again, his work ethic and how he goes about it. He's heard forever that he's not the tallest and all those other things. Look at it. We're trying to find ways that creates throwing lanes for him. But, he's a steady of a guy that you want. And as far as that quarterback position goes, he can flush away a mistake and he battles back. He has good leadership skills. I think he has very good confidence. He's been very impressive in a lot of ways. He's a guy that a lot of times if I looked at it without really getting down to him, I'd have to go back to all my notes early on. But, he's a guy I see as a coach someday because he has that type of mentality. He's learned how to compete. He does a lot of things, and I really respect him.
Time for one more.
One on, I know you've been asked about this, and you're going to get asked about this as we go along in the next year or so. What's going on with the Big 12?
I was wondering who's going to get one.
So you know on your radar when you took this shot. You're new to the league, but you've seen conference realignment so far happen over the last decade or so. What are your thoughts about where KU is right now and what the future may be for the Big 12 for a certain amount of time or moving on where
Yeah, it's a question that needs to be asked, but as we talked earlier, guys, it's not a. We've got so many other things to look at right now, and yeah, were we all surprised? Definitely, where that's at. But right now, where that's at, in the time frame and the years, my job is to get this thing ready to put us in the best position for the Big 12 conference as we possibly can, and that's where my focus has to be. And I'll defer to the people above me and everyone else and the commissioners and all that to determine that. And this university's in an athletic department's in a great position in a lot of different ways. I've been put in charge to put this program in better position for wherever the future takes us.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
No, but good. Someone showed me. You're hearing about good looking, attractive, smart, funny. How we doing? We good? Good to see you guys again. And ladies, thanks for being here.
We'll open it up to questions.
Let's get going.
I know you don't care about this kind of thing. You told your fan base before the season and asked them who they thought your quarterback was going to be. My guess is Miles Kendrick would have gotten many votes. What has he done to get in the race for the rest of you guys, and how has he stood out?
Yeah, him personally developing, and this is probably not exclusive to him because it's the other guys as well, but their consistency in terms of picking up the offense, And we talk, a lot of times we talk about culture in our program. We're talking about looking for consistently good, not occasionally great. Okay? Really, out there, Division I football, anyone out there is going to show some occasional greatness, but it's about the people who can consistently be good. And you're starting to see that from all the quarterbacks there. You know what I mean? And he's definitely doing that as well.
You guys scrimmaged the other night. It's kind of a different setting than practice. What did you learn about the offense?
Oh, fantastic question. One of the things that we did is, and you've heard me say this before, we're not going to play bad football, okay? Bad football is going to get you beat way before playing good football is ever going to win you a game. And so any small error on how that could have affected a drive in a real game setting and how it affects, you hate the word momentum, but right, a 1st and 10 versus 1st and 15, a first down versus bring it back to another 2nd and 5. We showed every one of those plays to the guys. And, you can you see it sink in a little bit more. Because at our pace at practice, we go so fast, and which is really one of the nice things is you got to forget it and you move on to the next play, okay? But when you get out there and you start moving the ball in a scrimmage setting, you're going to see, okay, there was a 1st and 10 call, and now there's a 1st and 15 because maybe a false start or something like that, right? So we are in the never-ending quest to eliminate bad football in this program. Right? And I'm talking like turnovers. I'm talking about penalties. I'm talking about mental errors. I'm talking about negative runs. Those are the things that are bad football. And so for guys to see that in the spotlight, so to speak, when it's just 22 guys out there in the field, it's good. It sinks in a little bit more, And so I learned, because we went out and I thought we responded really well in our practice following the scrimmage, our first practice back. And you could see the guys, and we kind of challenged to, hey, here's when we do these things to correct these kind of mistakes out of practice, drill work or a walkthrough or whatever it is. And I thought they responded well to it today. You know what I mean? We're pretty clean that way.
Coach, how important have these past couple weeks been in developing culture with this team?
Critical. And it started the first time we got here, throughout the summer. Simply put, sometimes culture is easy to do when you don't play games. because you really don't feel any true adversity, right? It's easy to talk about. It's hard to do, responding to adversity, responding to making a mistake on the field, okay, responding to a drop pass or an interception, however it is. Now, all those things we preached all summer long and through fall camp, here it is. Let's respond appropriately to what just happened. And that's been a big message for us in the last 7 days, especially offensively. Said, hey, if we face some adversity, if we face a 2nd and 15, if we, whatever, maybe we go 3 and out the first drive, how are we going to respond as a unit to go back out there and do our jobs and move forward and continue to succeed? So it's a big deal. We're talking about it all the time still with our players.
Let's just talk about adversity, not just being in the game or in practice with the snaps, but also being helping these guys that have been here a while kind of move forward. Some of these guys 3-4 years, rough careers, rough win-loss records, that kind of thing. How can you put your finger on that with the adversity part? What have you seen from the mental state of your guys, and how does it help them try to kind of move forward and move back to the past?
Well, you try to avoid making comparisons, right? Because really, we talk in the program a lot of times about one snap at a time. And back to your question about what do you see from a scrimmage, as we showed a mistake, we say, here's the thing. When you make an obvious mistake, like jumping off sides, you have to train and condition yourself to move past that right now, right? And so they're past one season, one game, one snap, whatever success or failures they had. It really doesn't matter for anybody across the country. It matters what we're going to do next. And to continue to point that out in moments in the game, right, the micro picture that you would see within a scrimmage, and try to get them to relate it to the big picture, okay? Like, that's what we're trying to get them to understand. And I think a lot of guys are. You know what I mean? They're kind of like, we're starting to get to the point in camp where it's getting hard. People are getting tired, right? Everyone across the country is right now after 10, 11, 12 practices, how many have they ever had? And you can start to see some of these moments where guys are going, oh, okay, I get it, right? You put them in those situations. So that's how I would answer that, in the sense of it's one at a time, you know what I mean?
Is that hard for you to be patient with?
Oh, man, I tell you what, if you were to ask me in an interview question, what's some of my biggest weaknesses, patience would be one of the first things I would say, so absolutely it is. But having done it now long enough and seen it, you start to understand that how important that is to be able to be patient with guys, right? Having a sense of urgency and finding every teachable and correctable moment, good and bad, for our players to show them, here's why we're doing things like this. Here's why we talk this way. Here's why our standard of finish and physicality is the way it is. So we can prevent this or promote this, whatever it might have been.
You guys haven't had as much time as you normally would have if you've been here for a whole year, right? Not here throughout the May. We talk about patience. It's like right now, on the 17th of August, would you rather rewind and have more time, or would you rather get fast forward to games? I mean, I know coaching's how he wants to coach, but where would you rather be right now?
Well, I don't know that I would ever feel satisfied in anything that we're at, right? You can win a game 55-0, and we're going to grade that film and grade myself as a play caller or a game plan organization. I'll find mistakes, and I think that's probably part of the reason, people are able to have successful, because they're able to kind of evaluate themselves and reflect on what they're doing good and bad. Certainly excited to play. Wish you had more time to continue to do things with them. But we also do all this training to play those games. Does that make sense? And so I remember, back when you played high school football and, coaching at Division III football, you had basically 2 weeks to get you guys ready to play a game, So, I got a background in being able to turn around and get people prepared that way as well. But excited to play, but certainly eager to continue to improve, to get ready to play,
You've had a lot of successful running backs in Buffalo, including Eric Robinson last year. Are there any traits or similarities to the group you have, maybe some of the past runners you had?
Not to make so many comparisons to individuals and people, but I'm seeing, you see some of the wiggle, you see some of the fall forward mentality, you see them, embracing what we're trying to do with them in the position. I think all the great running backs in the past that we've been able to coach and have on our rosters, they shared that, that desire to get better, use them multiply, right? Kind of diversify their talents, not just be a guy who maybe can only release out of the backfield and catch routes or only run the ball, okay? I think all of them recognize and see the value in being a multiple athlete out of the backfield. And so I see that from all those guys. They're doing really good. Well, he's getting a lot of reps right now for a true freshman, so I would have the same expectations for him as I would anyone who would ever go in the game for us, to execute. And to his credit, like a lot of those other guys in the room, he comes out there and he wants to be coachable. You know, Coach Wallace does a great job with those guys, and he's looking for feedback. He's seeking feedback, and he's developing real nice. You know, he's doing a good job. Yeah. First of all, Bitt was fantastic throughout the summer and some of the things he's done leadership. But he has really been somebody we can line up all over the field, you know, and he gets things. And any mistake that he makes, he's quick to, you know, he tells me typically before, you know, or Coach Jones, you know, who's doing a great job with other wideouts, you know, he'll be the first to say, man, I need to keep that route higher, or I got him on ball security today, you know what I mean? And he's like, yeah, I know, I can't extend it, right? And so his maturity is definitely showing through, and he's been able to line up anywhere and do things. He's helping all the younger receivers that are coming in, and, you know, with the new terminology and stuff, he's picked it up. He actually, to him specifically, is one of the first guys to come up and say, Coach, when are we going to start talking about the playbook? You know, I need more. You know what I mean? I want more, you know? So that's great. You know, a guy hungry to learn and learn things. So that's him, you know? KT, I tell you what, grittiness, man. I tell you what, the guy's doing a heck of a job. He's playing tough. Craftsman in terms of like how he's running routes and everything. Like he got some great wiggle off the line, but he's tough. You know what I mean? And I'm, you know, I talk with Coach Jones. He's doing a great job of this as well. But just challenging all those positions to be tough, right, and be physical. Even when you don't think of a receiver ever being, you know, that kind of player, but we'll need them to be physical and to understand that part of the game. That'll help us in all avenues, from runs to play actions to throwing the ball to special teams. And they're all embracing it for sure. And he has definitely embodied that.
Back to the running back real quick. You guys seem to have some quality depth there. Just how helpful would that be with your offense?
Well, I think the deeper you are in any position, the better it is, you know, especially that one. What's the old saying? A pair and a spare, right? You feel like you want to have at least three guys that you feel really, really good about, that everyone knows the name of. It makes things, you know, you feel more comfortable, I guess, right? You know, as a play caller, and say, okay, here, next guy up. You can roll guys through. They feel fresh legs, so to speak, right? And that's obviously a change of pace for the guys who have to tackle them, to when you go from, you know, this kind of player to that kind of player, and everything kind of complements together. Some guy who just carried the ball 4 times or took 4 reps in a row, now someone rotates in and we never skip a beat, and we're back to these, you know, 100% legs. So that's really true of any position, quite honestly, right? But certainly the running back room, that matters a lot if you want to get the ball running a little bit more. I don't think it really is anything about us, quite honestly. You know, I think we talk about our philosophy. I think you speak to, it's what your personnel is. You know, as a team, our players. That's what it'll always be about, is what do you do to get your players to develop, okay? As obviously football players in the field, but students, okay, men, right? What are you doing to get that to occur? So it has very little to do with the philosophy. And I think one thing, I credit the coach, is that through years, and those of us who are old enough to know, right, over your 40s, your philosophy can change a little bit and tweak as you get older. Your perspective changes when you have children, right? Okay, those of you have them, you know what I'm talking about, okay? So as we've gone through ups and downs at Buffalo or Whitewater or wherever we've all been, your perspective can change, and your philosophical opinions can change based off of, you know, what you've learned in adversity. So it has a lot less to do with our philosophy and more about what are we doing to develop the kids, right? Because they can change. Oh, they're developing. You know, Coach Fook's doing a great job with those guys, and those leaders in that group, the older guys. You know, they're probably, I don't know, someone could double check this, but they're probably the oldest group, I would think, in terms of how many guys are there that are seniors or super seniors, really buying into what we're doing. You know what I mean? Really taking coaching. You know, and I think that their growth, if you were to watch us run first practice and what we were doing to now, it looks night and day, quite candidly, with them. Same thing, very similar to what you asked about KT before. There's a gritty player, really good wiggle loose off the line, understands everything, can line up all over the field. Okay, loves to be physical, loves to compete, right? Really talented ball catcher. Okay, and I mean, just a blue-collar guy. Maybe that's the best way to sum up a guy like him, and Kevin and others, but I mean, specifically him, blue-collar dude. Let's go out there, let's work. And I appreciate that, I like coaching that.
Tempo is one of those.
Well, I think this, okay? If you look statistically, time of possession really has nothing to do with winning and losing a football game. It is going to boil down to when we have a possession, are we able to get points and specifically touchdowns on that possession? Okay, and you could look through, some people have, 14 possessions a game. Some teams have 9 possessions a game based off at what their pace of play is. So it'll have less to do with maybe how fast that we're playing and more to do with the actual production on those drives. Now, controlling the pace, the speed, how fast, how slow, that's part of our multiplicity, okay? But I won't sit there and say, hey, no, if we don't have the ball for 40 minutes, we're not going to win the game. I don't really think that way per se, but certainly being smart about what we're doing offensively, trying to be methodical, right? But doing whatever we got to do to succeed, for sure.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, thanks, everybody. Have a great day. Is that my phone? I'm guessing not. Okay, thanks.
Okay, go ahead with your question for Coach Borland.
Hi, guys.
Hey, I wanted to ask you about you guys scrimmage the other night. What did you maybe learn about your defense in that setting? It's kind of thing
Well, I think for the first time of having a lot of live reps, I felt like our effort was really good. We track loafs, players that don't finish plays well. Every play they're graded on those kind of things. We had very few loafs, so I thought our effort was outstanding. I think we're trying to play fast as a defense. Which is another really good part about it. So those two areas kind of stuck out the most, and obviously I thought we had some success. Some of the things that were in the red zone, I think we can clean up a little bit more, but overall I felt pretty good about the progress that we made that day.
How much time have you guys spent? I know you're working on your team right now, but when you guys come into this league, the Big 12 had this reputation of being wide open offense. It's probably not quite that anymore. How much time have you spent kind of scouting the league and kind of catering what you guys are doing around that? Or is that even a factor at all?
Yeah, no, it is. Quite honestly, we had every Big 12 opponent watched before we showed up here. Since we've been here over the summer as a staff, we've watched every opponent throughout all 12 opponents and kind of put a preliminary game plan together, kind of a scouting report. So I'm pretty aware. I don't think it's by and large not unlike things that we've prepared for before and done before. It's just probably a higher caliber of person doing it. So I don't know that right now we're doing things or not doing things just based on, well, we play this team on in October, so we got to do this now. I don't think we've gotten to that. We're really still trying to put together the basics of the defense that we're trying to run here as a core.
Eddie Wilson's a guy you know well, obviously. What did you like about what he did last year at Buffalo, and what kind of impact did he have?
Well, Eddie's just he's a fun human being to be around, so I think he brings a certain kind of energy that's always appealing. If you look at him, he's stoutly built, he's strong, and I think that's his trademark. If you're playing a sideline to sideline game and you're going to ask him to make plays on the sideline, that's probably not the best part of his game. But in the between tackle to tackle area, he's a hard guy to move, and he's surprisingly nimble and athletic in a short area. And I think those are the things that he's bringing the most, along with obviously knowing some things about what we're doing and being able to kind of maybe help some guys around him with some of those things.
Have you heard from some of the linebackers about some of the responsibilities that they have in this defense? What is it exactly that you're asking the linebackers to do?
Well, I guess we're asking them to, in a certain respect, anything that has to do with any front seven adjustments, setting our front, making any kind of front seven adjustments, identifying blitz directions, things like that. I think particularly for our inside linebackers, our Mike linebackers, there's probably a little bit more on their plate, but it's a learning process that I think they're embracing that. I feel like our guys really want to know. It's not like they're, hey coach, we can't do this. It's they really want to learn it, and they're really putting a lot of energy into it. And again, I think it's a daily process. It's some days you really feel like you're making big jumps. Some days you feel like not quite as much as you might want. But overall, we're moving in a positive direction, and I think those guys, I'm really appreciative of the fact that they've really embraced the roles that they have and what they need to do. Well, yeah, I think as a group, I think it's going to be a group effort in there. I don't know that you can just say it's just this guy and this guy and this guy, and those are your three, and you're going to ride them all the way. I feel like we have a group of about 6 or 7 guys that would really be able to factor in the playing rotation. One guy I don't mean to just single one guy out, but a guy that probably has taken me a little bit by surprise is a guy like Nick Channel. He's like I said, I think he's smart. He's a good little player. He's instinctive. He gets around the ball. He's strong, and I believe that he knows he knows the defense pretty well. So there's lots of guys that have stood out in lots of ways. He's probably jumped at me a little bit more than I would have expected somebody to so far. Well, when you get a chance to watch us, you'll see that he'll play actually all of our linebacker spots. He'll play all 3 of them, and I think that's his greatest tool. That was his greatest asset, quite honestly. At Buffalo before he transferred here, he knows all the linebacker spots. He can play any of them, and function well in all those areas. So we can kind of plug him in where we need him, and as different combinations of guys come on the field, he can move to another spot and according to the guys that he's playing along with. So and obviously as we've said a ton of times, there's Rich brings the 2 years of knowledge of really working in this system. So the terminology, the adjustments, the checks and things like that. He's just the recognition of things. He's probably ahead of a lot of guys, and he's very helpful when he's out there, and he's actually helpful when he's not out there in the classroom. I've actually walked through the lobby sometimes, and I see there's a little group of linebackers, and I just overhear a conversation. They're talking about checks and adjustments and things, and he's leading the charge in there. So he's really put himself out there and has really been a servant to that group, and I'm really proud of him. Kyron? Yeah, he certainly stands out. I think we have defensive end is I think it's one of our stronger positions. I think we have a number of guys that can play and can play at a pretty high level for what we're asking them to do. Kyron is obviously his greatest asset. He's really fast. He might legitimately be one of the top 2 or 3 fastest guys in our program. So and he's playing a position where we're going to count on him for some pass rush, for some edge rush. So far in camp, I think he's developing his game in that way a little bit. He's really just playing one spot. I think last year he moved to a lot of different positions and did a lot of different things. So he's got some capabilities and he's got some versatility to him. But right now we're really concentrating him on, hey, you're playing this spot, and he's really embraced that. And I think every practice he does some things that kind of stand out to you and jump out like, all right, that's what we need. So he's doing a good job.
How would you describe Jason as a young safety? How hard is it to play that position as such a professional? Get on the field and be
Yeah, well, I got to always sometimes remember about Jason is really he's a freshman. This is his first fall of football coming up, even though he was here in the spring. So he is a super conscientious kid that comes in and asks questions and stays after meetings and asks questions, and he really plays both of our safety positions, and when we do some sub package stuff, he's the sub DB, so he's got to know a lot. he takes a lot of pride in his ability to know things. And like I said, he's conscientious, and you know, one thing you never have to worry about with Jason would be that he's not going to give you the effort that you're looking for. And so, you know, you're always going to get that part. And again, he's still got things that he can improve on and things to learn. But every day, again, it's steady progress with him. And so he's going to factor into what we're doing, and really excited about kids like that, because, you know, one thing you never want to coach is to try to encourage a young man to play harder. Hey, you just got to play harder. Sometimes you got to almost take him and pull him back a little bit and say, all right, you know, we've had enough of this right now, you know, and pull back a little bit, because if you don't, he'll probably run himself into the ground. So it's trying to find that mix, but he's doing an awesome job, and as is the defense so far.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Coach.
Okay. Yep.
Hey, you met him down the hall again?
I did.